Hi, would you like to work 70 hours a week, no breaks, no food, no social life, and burn out pretty much every project you finish? Well, boy, do I have a solution for you. Be an animator. That's the best choice for your career. But to be an animator, you have to have an animation app. And for the iPad, there is one that I love. Well, hello there. This is Tamil, and let's talk about Callipeg. It's a cool app, and I went to Lightbox Expo, as you can see that little badge right there. I spent way too much money, and I'm probably gonna be in debt for the rest of my life. The point is, I went there and I saw a little booth, and it said Callipeg, and I was like, "What is Callipeg? I've never heard of it." And I went up to them and I talked to them, and they were really nice, and they talked about how they kickstarted a campaign. They created a beta version of the app in pretty much 6 months, and they've been updating this app for a while now, and it's really, really cool. The cool part about it is that it's an app for the iPad specifically targeted about animation. It's not a painting software that has animation tools in it. It is animation software that has drawing tools in it. It is pretty cheap and it's also relatively new, which means that we also get a lot of cool updates coming pretty frequently compared to other apps, and the team is very small, and I've talked to them. They were really nice, and I feel like it's an app that you should definitely try to get into. And so far you can get the app for free completely for a whole week to test it out, and you feel like you're not into it, you can just delete it, and there's no charge for that. And the thing that I love about Callipeg is that it has intuitive and friendly UI that you can get used to, and it's easy to learn the app because of that. Compared to, for example, Clip Studio Paint. Maybe Clip Studio Paint is more powerful and it has more tools in it, but there's so many extra buttons that are kind of getting in the way, and that is why I recommend Callipeg for anyone who is starting out or wish to kind of streamline their work more into animation. I'm not going to lie, I'm not a professional animator. I don't use this every single day, but I've asked my friends who do animation, and pretty much most of them said, Tamil, you're an idiot. How can you not know about this app? It's been like 2 years since it came out. It's really amazing. You're living under a rock. So let's just get into a little overview of the UI, how to use it, and all that good stuff. And honestly, I wish I was sponsored, but I'm never sponsored for anything. So actually, there's one thing. When I was the Callipeg Lightbox Expo, I was able to steal this from them. There, I was like, "Can I take two, please?" And they gave me Apple Pencil uh, thingy for, you know. So I'm rich. YouTube Live. Here comes the money. The interface is pretty easy to understand. It's very similar to Procreate and pretty much any other app. The first thing we want to do is just click New Shot, and there are all these settings. The main one that you want to look at is obviously what is the resolution. If you want to keep your size down and you want to just play around, just maybe do 720p and 12 frames per second. It's pretty standard for small animations, and if you're not doing production heavy, Disney-esque level animation, don't do 24 unless you want to, really challenge yourself. And this is what we get. This is pretty much the main thing that you want to look at. So this is the brush. There are all these different brushes that you can choose from. I really love the raw brush. I don't know why. It just reminds me of that little pixel animation stuff. It has pressure sensitivity if you have the Apple Pencil. This is going to be our timeline right here. This is going to be the erase. This is going to be fill. And as you can see, I can do double tap to undo, which is pretty standard. Boom, redo, 3 fingers. And the size is going to be right here. And you can change the size like this or hold it and then change it like this. Same for opacity. Pretty cool standard stuff, and most of this I learned is from the intro tutorial video that Callipeg posted themselves. So you don't even have to look for good tutorials because there's already plenty by the creators themselves, and I think that is really cool. And this part is transform. As you can see, it has the rotation and skewing. And if you want to keep it together, you can hold it with one finger. You know, all that cool stuff, just learn it from the video. Or if you want to experiment yourself, go for it. And the main thing that we want to use is obviously the timeline. It's going to be at the bottom. And as you can see, we have our first frame selected. Let's pick the brush that I like. So raw brush. And I like to do a little bit of smoothing for just a little bit so I can not worry too much about wobbly. Yeah, there we go. So 2 tap undo. And this is our first frame. And we can just do this. And maybe I'll draw a simple little cat that is going to be sleeping. Alright, so we have our first frame. And then we're gonna click here, and this is going to be our second frame. And as you can see, the green is going to be our onion skin. Onion skin can be turned off right here or off. And you can go to settings, you click here, you go into onion skin, and this is going to show you what's going to be on the canvas. -1 is a frame before that, 1 is one frame in front of it, and it goes 8 before, 8 after, and you can actually manipulate the opacity for each frame if you want to make something stronger or less stronger. And I don't like that my front is 50. I want to make sure that my front is maybe 25, because I know that the front is not going to be as important for me in this case because I'm just drawing out the basic concept, but I like that I have the -1 at 50%. And let's do a very classic boiling lines, which is a very simple technique. You can just copy whatever you did on the previous frame, but with a little wobble to it, and that way your animation is going to be a little bit more lively and a little bit more easy on the eye. So it's not as static. So now we have 2 frames in here, and we can just click here, and now it's going to play between these 2 frames. And as you can see, I messed up on over here, and I can go into eraser. And the thing that I want you to keep in mind is my favorite part of Callipeg is that it has a brush setting that is going to work as a selection tool. So if you click here, this is normal eraser. So this is going to be normal eraser. And if we go into here, and this is going to be a fill, and that way we can go in here and we just fill, and it deletes everything that is inside. And same goes for the brush. If you click here, you do the fill. Now we can just fill things really quickly without too much effort. Let's zoom in and just delete this part that I didn't like. I zoom out, and now we can just draw it again. And it goes a little bit too fast, so let's click on this one, move it over here, click on this one, and let's extend this, and let's extend this. So in this one is going to be 3 frames and 3 frames, total of 12 for now that we have, and we just click play. And as you can see, it plays only this because I selected it. So let's stop, click on here. So it's going to deselect it, click play, and now it's playing the animation that I've made. There are many options. If you double click on it, you can delete, copy, paste, duplicate with content, duplicate without a content. You know, all those things are very fun to use and explore. Again, if you want to go in super depth, watch the video from Callipeg themselves. I really enjoyed watching it. It's not really one of those old developers that I like only do programming and they're really boring. No, this is actually people, they made it really fun and they made it accessible to everyone. And if you don't even like how slow it goes, you can just speed up the video and you still can understand what's going on. And I feel like it's really, really big help for people who want to get into this app. And the cool part is that I could have saved myself time if I double click. I click timing and maybe I do 4. Now it's going to extend to 4. If I do 1, it's going to do 1. And that is what I love about Callipeg, is there are many options and animation tools that are specifically made for animation. It's not just, you know, Clip Studio Paint that has animation tools in it, but it's actually made for animation. And I can select multiple frames too. So if I click here, I delete, and I click and drag. I can double click and drag. I select both of these, And now I can go into timing and do 5, and it's gonna try to fill in and make it together. Let's do 2, because I really enjoyed doing 2. And the little trick that I learned as well, if I click right here, I drag both of these, I click on the drawing pad, which is our timeline, there's the magnet, and I hold it, and now it's gonna snap all the things that were empty, and it's gonna put it together. So let's click play, and this is going to be our animation. And I think this is fine. This is a great starting point. You can also slice animation. So if I do just this, boop, boop, and that's that easy. There's so many shortcuts that are really amazing, and they just kind of all come together and it's so cohesive. I just love it, you know? If you learn all the shortcuts, it's really streamlined, and I feel like this is way better than anything else I've used before. So let's push the pose just a little bit so we know it's kind of snoring just a little bit. And now that we have this, let's double click, set the timing for 2, and then we're going to do again the boiling lines just to give it just a little bit more personality and give it a little bit more movement, since I don't know how to animate like a real animator, like a Disney style. I only know boiling lines, but that's already enough to get started. You know, it's just for fun. You don't have to be good at it to have fun. And as you can see, it's a little bit choppy. Let's extend it for timing, maybe 5. And we did all of this, and you can see this little red thing. This is our out. And out means this is where the animation is going to end, and we play it. This is where it's going to end. You can click here, so for example, 24 frames, double click, let's click out. And this is going to be our out. Yeah, I've said out probably like bajillion times. And I can see that maybe we can improve this one by setting the timer for 4 and putting this one and set the timer for 4 so that it's has a little bit more variety in terms of movement. And this is a little animation. It's very simple. It's nothing too much. But let's add one more. This is going to be add. And in here, we can choose the audio, video, or drawing. And I want to do another drawing. And if you slide this part, now we have 2 timelines. And I want to make another timeline. And here, I want to actually draw a little the Z, like the for sleeping. But I want to obviously animate it so that way you can feel that, oh, this cat is probably sleeping. So I did a little animation of sleeping, but I want to make sure that it's actually in a different position. So I selected all of these layers and I go into here so I can double check which frame is it. I click to transform, and now I can just move it just a bit. So maybe from here. And now that I click here, I deselect everything, right? Play animation. Now it moved everything else together, so now I don't have to worry about redrawing every single frame again. And I was thinking about it, maybe I can add even more to this. I want to add just a little bit more yawn in here. So I remove this, and let's do one more frame just for funsies, because I'm already getting invested into this little animation. And we're just gonna do one more yawn right here. And that way we can actually use our duplication tools. Honestly, I'm not really good at this, but I actually enjoy using this. It's a lot of fun. So let's make sure that it's a lot shorter. And let's make sure that it's one frame before than the rest of them, so it feels just a little short. And let's do out maybe at this part. And we can click here, and then now we want to duplicate with content. Click here, boom, this is duplicated. So now we have 2 frames that go into each other, and now it will be looking way more organic. And I can duplicate this part as well. And you can duplicate multiple frames. It doesn't have to be one by one, which is the cool part about this little animation and the app overall. I think there's many things that you can improve in here. I love this. Honestly, this is my favorite. this is this is the best thing I've ever created in my entire life. Let's do this sleeping part and let's just duplicate it again. And let's duplicate this one so that it's one frame. And this is the last part that I'm going to do. I'm already getting way too carried away with this. Click another one. And let's double this. Let's do color. And this one was for our Z. So Z or Z. And then here is going to be line. So now that we moved colors, obviously we can use the bucket tool, which is the fill tool, and you click on color, you can select anything you need. There are palettes that you can create so you can keep consistent with your animation. And the colors are pretty familiar, there's nothing weird about it. The only thing I'm gonna say is that in other apps that I've used, for example Photoshop or Procreate, usually the blue is somewhere right here, and it's a lot easier to use it when it's rotated just a bit. But other than that, this is pretty standard color wheel that you can use for anything that you need. And let's make our cat just a little orange. And you can see that I can hold it, and right here is going to be our sensitivity, which means it's going to try to fill as much as it can. But if you do very little with any other brush, it's going to leave these like weird white marks. And let's make sure you can see what I'm talking about. So if I do this and I close it and I try to fill it, you can see this little part, which is not ideal, but you can keep sliding it until it fills as much as it can. If you want to be more precise, then you're gonna have to use a different brush, but I'm glad this function at least works and is available in this app, which is very important. And now that we set it up like here, now we can go all the way into this, and this entire animation is going to be using that same orange for everything. But as we remember that each frame is a little bit different. So let's fit each frame into another part, and we don't have to put too much effort because we made sure that our line art is very clean, which I'm very happy about. I really dread coloring things in Procreate or other apps. When it comes to coloring in animation, I feel like this is really just kind of easy and streamed, and I don't have to really worry about this too much. And let's add small light into here. I know I'm getting way too ballsy with this, but let's add small light into here. I want to add just a little bit more coziness. Let's pick this orange. Let's click something like this, and we do maybe yellow. And now let's go into each frame, and I'll do very simple line art for the shadows. And I know that you're supposed to be doing this in a very different way. If you're doing this professionally, you have to probably do a separate pass for the light, so it's very consistent on each frame. But again, this is really for fun. I don't mind making mistakes, and not really learning is also kind of my favorite part about anything in art. Sometimes you just want to make stuff, and that's okay as well. I really don't like how everything these days is like, get a job or you die. You know, it's like, what? Okay, well, I just want to draw a cat sleeping, and it's gonna look weird, and I like it. Can I just make it look weird? And let's play it, and you can see it just has a little bit of shadow in here. And the cool part about Callipeg is also sliding. You can hold 3 fingers, and that way you can slide between your animation to double check if something looks off. And you can also draw on tap as you're sliding it if you want to add more frames. In here in settings, you can go into flipping, and this is going to be the flipping sensitivity if I want to do all the way. And now I can just slide it super fast if you're just like you're in a hurry and you have 50 frames that you have to finish before before noon and there's a deadline. So there's a lot of cool little features, and we can export this, and you can see that it's trying to estimate size, and it's going to give you different ways of saving. You can do images, which is going to be saving frame by frame, and you can import it into, for example, Adobe Premiere, or you can just do a quick sequence. You can just do exactly what you wanted. And I love to export it in GIF format. Oh, sorry. I think it's GIF if you have IQ of 500, but you can also export it with MP4, PSD, PNG. And the thing that I want you to warn is that there's so many frames, there's so many drawings in here, even though this is 720p, that's not that much. It already has 129 megabytes for the project. And if you are done with your animation, you can go in here and you can export this. You can click Callipeg format, and that way you can compress your entire project. And you can see this is estimated size 700 kilobytes compared to what we had. This is way smaller, and you can export this, save your into files. So click here. It's going to export, compress everything. And you can see here, we can save it to files, and that way you can save your old projects. And let's just try and save it with a regular MP4. Let's see if it works. It's only going to be 4 megabytes. Export audio. We don't have any audio. It's going to export the background, export, and we can see that it's saved. And we can do save video. Callipeg will like photos, and then now it should be saved in my photos. And there it is. It's in my photos. You can see this little animation. And we can keep playing it on loop. Boop. It's really, really cute. And if I don't like how it looks, I can edit it. I can put it maybe in iMovie. I can even probably crop this. If I really want to play around with this, I can just do this. And that way it has like more composition to it. And that way we can just play it. And it's a little bit more animated compared to before. And we can even throw a filter in here if I really want to. Just vivid warm would be fine. And that way we have a tiny little animation that we made. We can send an audio in here too, because Callipeg has an audio option right here. You can have audios, you can record, you can drop things. So this one, import, type, photo, album, or files. So there's many ways you can update your animation, improve it, and all of those cool things. And I think this has a lot of potential, and it's really affordable right now compared to Toon Boom or anything else. So if you're just starting out with animation, or you're a professional who's looking for something on the go, I feel like this is really a good choice. Honestly, I can't recommend this enough. And that's not because I got a little pencil holder from the Lightbox Expo that they gave me. I'm totally not sponsored. And thank you for watching. I really love this little animation. Maybe I'll post it. Thank you for watching. Have a good one, and happy painting.